Šefčovič. I'll now say a few words about this negotiation which I am leading under your mandate. And I would like to start by personally thanking Maroš Šefčovič for the work that he's been doing with a great deal of determination, very thorough work in leading the joint committee on the implementation of the withdrawal agreement. And this is a crucial point, and it ties in with the negotiation, because as all the chairpersons of your groups have said, this is a matter of trust. It's a matter of trust in order to build a new deal for our future relations, and we are going to need trust based on the current agreement for that. The European Council, as President Michel said, was a key juncture for this negotiation. The European Council underscored to our friends and partners from the UK that the EU wants a deal. We want a deal that will be mutually beneficial to both parties in respect of the autonomy and sovereignty of both sides, a deal reflecting a balanced compromise. But there will not be a deal at any cost, as our President Ursula von der Leyen said on several occasions. And this is at the heart of the mandate that has been given to me by the Parliament and by the European Council, underscoring once again our constructive attitude in continuing discussions. May I remind you that the European Union's attitude in this negotiation has in no way shifted, and it will not shift. Not up until the very last day. Not even then. We'll remain calm, constructive and respectful. But we will also remain firm and determined when it comes to defending the principles and the interests of each of the EU member states and the European Union itself. We will seek the necessary compromises on both sides in order to do our utmost to reach an agreement, and we will do so right up until the last day that it's possible to do so. Our doors will always remain open right up until the very end. But as has been said by both Mr. Šefčovič and Mr. Michel, we will remain firm. We're ready to discuss all subjects on the basis of legal texts. We're here to negotiate an agreement, an international treaty, and that's a legal document, a legal instrument. And my team was fully prepared to travel to London from Monday this week to keep working. What won't change either is the framework set out by the EU for this ambitious agreement with the United Kingdom. We want respect for our autonomy in decision-making. We want a deal that's going to uphold the integrity of the single market and preserving long-term economic and social and political interests of citizens and businesses in the European Union. And these principles have been stated clearly by the European Union since the very moment that the United Kingdom decided to leave the EU 4 years ago. And these principles, in my view, are fully compatible with the respect of British sovereignty, a legitimate concern of Boris Johnson's government. What's in play here, honourable members, in this negotiation is not the sovereignty of one side or the other. That's not what's at stake here, and this is something we've said from the political declaration. Any agreement will be drawn up in the respect of the autonomy of the European Union and in the respect of the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. What's at stake here, quite simply, and yet it's rather a lot, is the proper organisation of our future relations after the divorce, which is a fact. We want to have good relations, economic cooperation, safety, security, research, education, and perhaps one day cooperation on foreign policy and defence. And we've heard the red lines stated by Boris Johnson on the role of the European Court of Justice, on the legislative autonomy of the UK, and on fisheries. And for several months now, we've worked constructively around the negotiating table to look at how these British red lines might align with our own principles and interests, with the aim of reaching an agreement. Because it goes without saying, any international agreement implies binding constraints that have been accepted by both parties. So that's the general state of play on the negotiations. And honourable members, despite the difficulties we've faced, an agreement is within reach. If both sides are willing to work constructively, if both sides are willing to compromise, and if we're able to make progress in the next few days on the basis of legal texts, and if we're ready over the next few days to resolve the sticking points, the trickiest subjects, because time is of the essence and time is running out each and every day. That's why, along with our British counterparts, we must endeavour to find solutions to the most difficult areas. I said yesterday to the coordination group chaired by David McAllister, and I also said this in the Conference of Committee Chairs, that progress had been made over the past few weeks with the UK on law enforcement cooperation. I know how important this is to the European Parliament. We move forward on protecting human rights, Europol, Eurojust, data protection, and other areas as well. So there is an outline emerging for this deal on these points. We're also moving forward on transportation. The UK has agreed to a specific level playing field when it comes to that, in particular when it comes to road transportation. The UK will be participating in some significant European projects such as Horizon and Erasmus, and there's also thematic cooperation as well. Public health, which is of the utmost urgency today, and cybersecurity. These are areas where we've made positive progress thanks to the negotiations. But there's still disagreement on a number of other issues, even if we can see that there may be a way forward on this, particularly when it comes to trade of goods and services, energy, and social security coordination. And then there are three major issues that's touched on by President Michel earlier. These are issues where progress must be made because there are real differences in these areas. The level playing field, fisheries, and governance. The leveling playing field, put simply, is about economic fair play and fair play in trade, and that's at the heart of our future economic relations. The UK have talked about a Canada-style deal. That's something that comes up a lot. But as Mr. Šefčovič said earlier, we share a special relationship with the UK. There are 0 kilometres between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom, 0 kilometres between us and the United Kingdom. And there is an economic interweaving that we've built with the British for the past 47 years. So this situation is truly unique. And that's why the deal that we seek will be unprecedented. It's also the first time in our history that we are negotiating a trade deal with a third country with, from the very start, the principle, or rather the suggestion, that there will be no customs duties, no tariffs between us. That's something that is unprecedented for the EU with a third country. It's something we've never done with Canada in particular, and not with Japan either more recently. And for the first time, may I just say again, we're negotiating this where there is a different regulatory approach. So it's not about reaching convergence, it's about ensuring that we fully understand and can deal with the differences that exist. And that's why the level playing field remains a fundamental concern, as the President of the European Council has said. And indeed, for the past few weeks, we've seen that the UK are willing to look at this demand, and they're willing to move forward and shift in their way of looking at this. They're willing to do things in a different way to what exists in current trade deals among other countries. We want a deal where we'll have a chance at real implementation on the state level, and we need to see that translated into concrete results in the negotiation. And we need to ensure that both sides are empowered to take steps if there is unfair competition. It's about forging a pathway forward in all of this. We're going to have a broad deal, and we need a dispute settlement mechanism with an efficient system And this was something said earlier by Mr. Šefčovič. This has got to do with respecting the withdrawal agreement. Of course we're going to be demanding in this negotiation on the future relationship. This has got to do with dispute settlement and governance. We want to ensure we can move forward on this. And this brings me on to fisheries, the last major issue. There will not be a trade deal without a fair solution for fishermen on both sides, and we will insist on this right up until the very end. There needs to be mutual access to waters, and there needs to be a fair distribution of quotas for fishermen on both sides. So thank you for the trust that you've placed in me. Our door remains open. It will remain open right up until the last day where we can work together to keep working with our team, which is indeed your team as well, for the negotiation. We're willing to do intense work, to intensify talks day and night, if that's what's needed, to reach a draft agreement that will leave enough time for democracy, enough time for your parliament, for the national parliaments and for the council to be able to state their position on the agreement. We will continue to inform you with the utmost transparency, President, honourable members, on how the negotiations are moving forward. It takes two to reach a deal, and an agreement needs to be reached. That's what this is all about. We're not sure that that's the outcome we will obtain. And that's why we need to be ready to deal with the consequences of a possible no-deal scenario. And we must keep preparing for this possible outcome, even though that's not the one we want at the end of the year. We have been carrying out these readiness measures for months now with all relevant stakeholders and with the Member States. President, ladies and gentlemen, your unity, the unity of the 27 member states and of the political groups here, are the key to the success of this negotiation. We know that this negotiation is not just about the relations between the EU and the UK for future generations. It's got to do more broadly with the future of the European project. Thank you.
Grazie a Michel Barnier.